Bring in Steve Forbes, Forbes media chair and editor-in-chief, and Steve Moore, host of More Money on WABC Radio. All right, fellas, you saw, Steve Moore, start with you. You saw Mr. Trump's Truth Social, and my sources, actually, as we're talking here, there's a meeting in the White House, I believe, with leading House people telling him they're not going to go for a higher millionaires tax hike or a new bracket. That's what I'm told. Mike Johnson, Steve Scalise, Jason Smith. Now, I don't know, maybe you're hearing something different.
Yeah, look, Larry, that was kind of a non-denial denial that Truth Social he put out today. But I'm going to tell you, I'm with you. I saw your note earlier today where you basically said it ain't going to happen. And it isn't going to happen. So why are we wasting time? A precious time when we got to get this tax bill through. The sooner we can get it done, the better the economy will perform. So this is just a detour, and it leads to nowhere. So let's get back on track of keeping tax rates as low as possible. There's no possible reason to do this. Every time in America, for the last 100 years since the income tax was introduced, every single time we have raised tax rates, bad things have happened for the economy. It happened under Herbert Hoover. It happened under Franklin Roosevelt. It happened under Richard Nixon and Jimmy Carter. And so why do we do this? There's three results of raising tax rates, Larry. One is the rich find ways around paying the higher tax rates because they're smart people. They invest more in tax deductions. The second thing that happens is actually the share of taxes paid by the middle class goes up. And the third thing that happens is you blow up the economy. We don't want any of those things to happen.
You know, Steve Forbes, it kind of breaks your heart because I know you want to lower marginal rates, and you are correct. In fact, you ran for president twice on the flat tax, and you did a great job of that. You changed a lot of people's thinking about that. You're not going to make any money. You start raising tax rates on the most successful earners, you're not going to get any revenues. They're going to have tax avoidance. They're going to put their money in tax-exempt municipal bonds or something. Every time we've done it, Steve said, not only has it's hurt the economy, but the revenues never materialize. And yet, lower tax rates, Steve Forbes, produce more growth and less tax avoidance and more revenues. It's exactly the opposite.
Well, focus brain power on productive things instead of getting around these unnecessary weights and people who want to do positive things. And there's also a moral issue. Even if the tax increase, they say, a little bit, what it does is give moral justification to the Democrats' contention the rich aren't paying enough. Well, and so they're going to say, why stop at 2.5? Why not go down to 500,000? You give away the game. Don't give away the game. Say we want people all having a tax cut. That's how you raise incomes. We saw it in President Trump's first term, where he had a good tax cut. And guess what happened? Lower incomes rose faster than even middle and higher incomes. So if you want to raise their level of well-being, that's the way you do it. Reduce people on burdens on productive people, and by golly, they'll do productive things that benefit all of us. Very basic. Again, why are we having this discussion?
I thought the Truth Social thing was, too cute by one. I mean, I really did. He's on both sides of it, but I thought it was a little too cute by one. Steve Forbes, what did you think of the British-American trade deal announced yesterday? Yesterday was a big news day. How about the trade deal first?
Well,
I was going to go to Steve Moore. Go ahead, Steve. Pound away.
Oh,
did I say Steve Forbes? I meant Steve Moore.
Okay. Well, I just want to say one last word about this tax issue about getting more taxes out of the rich. Steve Forbes and I have been talking a lot about this. And how about this idea, Larry? Why don't we just get rid of all the deductions in the code? Because, that 91% of Americans don't even itemize their deductions. And then that money could be used to lower every single tax rate by about 10 or 15%. And you're moving right back towards the flat tax that Steve Forbes liked. I think that's the way to do it. Never raise rates, get rid of deductions, and lower rates. Now, I loved what happened yesterday, Larry. I thought it was a breakthrough day for President Trump. I don't know all the details. I don't know all the fine print of that trade deal, but it is a breakthrough. The markets have loved it, and now you're going to get, in my opinion, just a domino effect of other countries signing up for a similar deal. The one thing that he left out in that deal, though, was one of the industries, which is our most important, or at least one of our 2 or 3 most important industries, our technology industry. It still allows the Brits and the Europeans to discriminate in terms of their taxes on American high-tech companies.
Digital service taxes.
Yes.
And they're also
the digital tax.
And they're also taxing streaming companies like Netflix is being taxed. Okay.
Yes.
Amazon Prime is being taxed, and all the major digital companies are being taxed. That may be a work in progress. I mean, I think we talked to Howard Lutnick last night about it, and it's a deal that's going to grow. That's what they're saying.
Well, that's a key thing, because one of the things that's happened is the Brits now get to export cars, the 100,000 they usually do, at a lower tariff rate than cars coming from Canada, which have more U.S. parts inside.
Yeah.
So we're hurting our own people, which is why the auto industry is upset. But while the president's on it, I'm glad we're finally sticking to cutting taxes again. The other thing he's got to focus on is no price controls on pharmaceuticals.
Yes.
That is going to be a disaster. It's a pro-China, pro-India, pro-China. China's investing tons of money in biopharmaceuticals. And if we put price controls here, guess what happens? That investment dries up. The billions that pharma is ready to invest to come up with the new medical devices and the cures, if they can't make a profit, if they don't have the capital, they're not going to do it. It's what happened in Europe, when the more they got government control, less innovation in medical devices and drugs.
Most favored nation. That's what it's called. Most favored nation. This cropped up.
The least favorable to us.
Right. So they're going to use Medicare and you've been on this. Medicare and perhaps Medicaid, okay, would just drugs would be priced at the lowest cost for these most favored nations, including Canada, including many countries in the European Union. Now,
and that's a real trade issue.
Right.
They're riding.
That's right. That's right.
They're riding on our coattails. We're subsidizing the rest of the world. It's Tony Soprano-like negotiations. Governments, in effect, say, you don't give it to us at a low price, we're going to steal the patents. So that's where we should really hit hard. You want to steal the patent, you're going to pay a price for it, but you got to pay your fair share of the development costs. As you know, $2.5 billion it takes to bring a new drug to market, and they want it at a discount. No, you want the drug, you help pay for its development.
And, Steve Moore, it should be a trade issue, but it never seems to crop up as a trade issue. But one other point is price controls, by any name, you can call it most favored nations, but these are drug price controls. These are government drug price controls. I mean, why are Republicans doing that? What does that have to do with free market capitalism? What does that have to do with entrepreneurship? What does that have to do with helping, the activist investor produce a life-saving drug? We're against price control. Joe Biden wanted price controls. Kamala Harris ran on price controls, right?
Richard Nixon tried them and destroyed his presidency.
I mean, yes. I mean, Steve Moore is just, I don't know why they're fiddling around with that, but it's cropped up again.
Well, one of the first rules of economics that we've learned over the last 50 years, going back to, remember Richard Nixon put the price controls on everything. Remember that in the early 70s to try to control inflation. Wage and price controls never worked. They were a violation of freedom and free markets. And what I want to emphasize, though, the worst ones are the ones on the drugs, because we want to win the race for the cure, Larry. Mm-hmm. We want to solve Alzheimer's. We want to solve the problems with cancer and MS and all these other terrible diseases. Every time you put price controls on, you reduce the amount of money that's going to the innovation, and you're delaying the race for the cure. So here's what I'm going to say. Price controls are bad for your health.
Yes, okay, they are bad for your health. Real quick, Steve Forbes, our new pope, American-made.
I love it.
Something.
American-made.
He's from Chicago, Larry.
And now I hope he listens to your show and understands his predecessor did not. The way to help the poor is to have an open economy where entrepreneurs can lift all of us up.
Steve Moore, Chicago finally produced something good. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, yeah. He said he's going to. I don't know if you heard him say he's going to pray for everybody except for people from Green Bay because we hate the Packers.
Don't start. All right, Steve Forbes and Steve Moore. Thank you very much. All right.